Since the Sandbox fans, we're back. I feel like it's been a freaking
hot minute.
years. It felt like it's been years, but we need to finish the schedule predictions. Fantasy content starts this week, next week, depends on when you're listening. But we're real excited to get into it. We got, 3 weeks left, 4 weeks left until football? The depression, the wait, it's over. Yeah. We're here. We're excited, too, because our 5-year event is popping up. August 17th, we'll be here right away. You're not going to get the whole glimpse of what's going on in the studio, but, man, we've been working. Got some new merch, got a lot of exciting things, some raffles, some 50-50 prizes going on. And, of course, Sammy Carlo's taking care of the food, sponsoring the event, so shout out to those guys.
The goats.
Yes, absolutely. And Twan's first time was a huge success. Got to go back.
Love it, dude.
The cutlet was top tier.
Love that place, man.
Good. Love that. We'll be back in there real soon. I'm thinking maybe a trivia in there on a Saturday.
Love that.
Would be fun. Would be a lot of fun.
Be electric.
And get the food like while we're playing and stuff like that. Oh, stop. I'm starving right now. But NFC West schedule predictions. Last division we need to run through just to get the expectations for the season. Twan, get us started with the Arizona Cardinals.
All right, Arizona Cardinals. Now, one of the worst teams in the league last year. As expected, you don't have Kyler for half the season. You know you're not going to have him. And then all the locker room stuff that's going on, new coach, offloading players for literally nothing. Like Budda Baker got sent for a 7th to the Giants. And not Budda Baker, I'm sorry, Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah. I was going to say.
There was a lot
Don't get me excited. I know.
Well, not quite, but.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag early. I think Arizona, while I don't know that they'll make the playoffs, I do think they're going to be far more competitive this year. I think that they're going to be a team that really shocks some people, and I actually think they have some talent on that roster. So I think Arizona's heading in the right direction, but week one's tough for them. They start out going out to Buffalo. They're not going to get that game.
No.
I think the last time they went to Buffalo, D-Hop caught a Hail Mary for a touchdown.
That was in Arizona versus Buffalo.
It was in Arizona?
In Arizona.
Well, they're in Buffalo now, and Buffalo's going to get them back for that. Buffalo is going to take care of that game, get the win. So, Kev, I got you on that one. But week 2...
Kev's going through a table.
Kev's going through a table immediately.
Week 2, yeah.
But week 2, they're going to beat the Rams, and they're going to beat them at home. Okay. I do think they're going to sneak one. I think that the NFC West is going to be a very competitive division this year, and I think a lot of these teams are going to end up splitting with each other. Week 3 comes around, you get the Lions. I think that's a loss. I think they're going to beat Washington, lose 2 in a row, though, after that to San Fran and the Packers. So through 6 weeks, Steve, I have them 2-4. So I know I said things are going up and up. Tough start to the season.
Yeah.
Really tough games in that stretch.
No, it's okay. I do feel more confident about Arizona's development than maybe what my record might show. And now looking through this and just kind of seeing where things are at this point in training camp, I had the Rams on top of this division, and I actually feel like they might be more on the back end. They got 2 offensive linemen down right now. Puka's out with a knee. Obviously, you got the questions with Kupp and his injury history and things like that. And there was some Matthew Stafford contract negotiations and conversations going on. So I just feel like there's a lot of moving pieces, all while keeping in mind for the Rams that Aaron Donald is no longer there, their best player. So maybe a team like the Cardinals can really surprise people, but very similar stretch to you. I actually only have them winning 1 game, and that's week 2 versus the Rams through that 6 weeks. Look, this is a tough stretch of games through the first, front. I think Washington is a very winnable game here, but I actually think Jaden Daniels could take the league by storm. I really do. I feel like he might be the best rookie quarterback out of this entire class, and definitely a guy that you want to target late for your fantasy guys, especially in keeper leagues, things like that. If you can grab him in round 10 and he puts up 300-plus fantasy points this year, that's great going into next year for a keep.
He's a guy you're drafting like you drafted Anthony Richardson last year.
Or Jordan Love.
Where you need someone else just in case it doesn't work out, but
absolutely.
He's a very good person to take.
For sure.
But you look at this Arizona first 6 games, dude, they're playing 5 playoff teams from last year in those first 6 games. So that's tough. But after that, I got them getting a win over the Chargers. I think it's a good bounce-back game for them at home. Taking an L to Miami, even though I don't think Miami's going to be that good this year. But, Steve, I got them going on a 4-game win streak after that. Chicago upsetting the Jets, going into Seattle winning, and beating Minnesota on the road.
Wow.
So, to that point...
Upsetting the Jets. Sorry, Vin.
I know, I'm sorry, but hey, don't worry, Vin. I took care of the Jets. We knew that this was coming. They had to lose a couple games, but...
Hey, Vin gives me a call in the middle of the week, and he's like, hey, I forget your buddy's name, but I love what he does, and I see he does the fighting stuff, too. So he's been paying attention.
Appreciate you, brother. Let's go. No Jones.
Yeah.
But... Yeah, so I had them, 2-4, then I have them 3-4, rattling off 4 more wins. That's 7-4, 7-5 through 12 weeks.
Okay.
There may be a bye sprinkled in there.
Yeah, bye week is week 11. I'm going to pick up at 6. I actually have them getting a win Monday Night Football versus the Chargers week 7. Same loss to the Dolphins, win versus the Bears, loss versus the Jets week 10, right before the bye week. Think that's a tough game, and if the Jets are going to be the team we're expecting them to be and fully healthy, I think by week 10 they should be, really, really catching stride at that point in time. After the bye, though, a win versus Seattle, 2 losses in a row, the Vikings and then the Seahawks again. Getting the Seahawks within 3 weeks twice is going to be tough, especially depending on what injuries are looking like. Geno Smith banged up right now. Who knows? Maybe that trade from Washington is really going to work out and Howell's going to be able to start the season. We'll see what happens. I'm going to just finish it up here. Yep. This is where my win stretch is. 3 weeks in a row, 15, 16, 17. Patriots, Panthers, and Rams. And losing week 18 versus the 49ers.
You got them sweeping the Rams.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, honestly, I do. It's crazy that my record doesn't, really reflect that. Like, it has the Rams on top. But this is the year of all years with all the drama going on in San Francisco for the Cardinals or the Seahawks to be on top of this division. Like, it really is. And they're both talented enough. For Arizona, the question's on the defensive side of the ball, and Seattle has a new coach. It's like the first change that they've had in like a decade. So it's like, Let's see how this all kind of gets adapted, but Seattle has the personnel to do so.
They do.
This record gives the Cardinals 7-10, so it's not horrible. Nope. It's 3-3 in the division, so a very competitive football team. Couple different wins with a couple different stretches here. Maybe Washington, maybe the Bills might be a little bit different. And that gets, the Cardinals on the plus side of 500. So that gets us the Cardinals, but I know you have some to wrap up there.
I got them going 8-9. So, and again, with this end of the season, I have it being a tough end of the season for them with, dropping 4 out of their last 5.
So they dropped the game versus the Pats?
They did. They just, when we were going through the Pats list, I had to give them one. I'm Arizona probably. And now we get to here, and I do Arizona, and I go, well.
Yeah.
But they very easily could win one of these games and end up going 9-8. Based off of this. So I have them going 8-9. They could go 9-8. They could go 7-10. I think that's the area that we should expect them to be around. Yes. I don't think that they're going to be this 4-13 team. Oh, they're not the same old sorry-ass Cardinals. They've made improvements, and whether their record shows them making the playoffs or even being over 500 doesn't mean they haven't improved as a team. And that's the thing, is Arizona needs to take these steps, because they're not just going to jump back in and be the, 12-4 Carson Palmer team that they had and stuff like that.
No, that was a good team, too.
That was a really good team.
But, this isn't a team I'm expecting to pick in, the top 10 of, the draft, unless they make, a move with, draft capital. Maybe Kyle was involved. I just don't expect that with Marvin Harrison, and the way he looks in camp right now is actually scary.
Yep.
But Neighbors does look a little bit better,
Neighbors looks damn
might
good,
just say.
dude.
And he's about that scrap with the Lions, so I'm all about it.
Dude, this is one of the top receiving classes that we've had in a very long time. You have a lot of really talented guys coming out.
I'm so excited that we got a piece of it. And, hopefully that works out for you guys, too. You got 2 pieces of it, not in the first round. But
I wish we got Ladd. I'm really high on Ladd McConkey right now, too. I think he's going to ball.
Yeah, he's going to be, wide receiver 2 in fantasy football after, the first 4 weeks, no doubt. But let's get things going with the Rams, who I gave a 10-7 record, only winning 2 games in the division, though. So let's hear the way this shakes out. Actually have them winning week 1 versus the Lions.
As do I.
The more I think about it, though, the Lions can probably take that game. They're going to be 2 really good NFC teams. I just think the Lions might be a little bit more healthy than they will be at that point. And that's scary to say for the Rams going into week 1 of the season. After that, dropping 2 straight Cardinals and 49ers, picking up a win versus the Bears in week 4. Loss versus the Packers in week 5. Look, you got the LaFleur, McVay reunion going against each other. I think it's going to be really competitive, a close game. I just think, the Packers are going to be a more sound team by that point in time. Takes us to the bye week. I'm going to go to week 10, Twan. I have them going 3-1 over that next stretch, though. A win versus the Raiders. I'm interested to see your thoughts on that because I know you're high on Las Vegas. Win versus the Vikings on Thursday Night Football. That could be a close game. Really interested to see how that works out. Loss versus Seattle and a win versus the Dolphins on Monday Night Football. So 3 primetime games, getting 3 wins on primetime television for the LA Rams. Danielle and I are actually targeting going to that Dolphins game on the West Coast.
That'll be a good time.
Fingers crossed. So we'll see.
So I get them going 6-3 through that point, Steve. So couple of the key wins that I have for them. Green Bay's a really big win that I have for them there. San Fran, I have them beating. I also have them beating Detroit. But again, if they're not fully healthy by the start of the season, things change, right? If Puka's not playing, like that's a big eye opener. Like it's something that's really going to change how things go for the Rams this year.
What are your thoughts on Kyren Williams? Like, are you expecting like him to like evolve from that? Do you think Corum's going to be like featured here? Like, I want to know because I don't feel as confident going into the season with Williams as I did in the back end of last year.
I feel good about Williams, honestly. I think he's a high volume guy, but I also think that when Corum gets involved, he's not going to get involved to take the role over. He's getting involved to like give Kyren Williams a rest a little bit. And I think he's a unique kind of back in the sense that Blake Corum can really exhaust a defense with just, you go up and you hit this dude that's like 5'7", like 220, 230, and you're exhausted, like you're hurt from it. And then you bring Kyren Williams in and it's a different kind of change of pace. So I think they're going to complement each other really well, but I do have full expectations of Kyren Williams getting 20 to 25 touches per game because he's also
featured.
He's also a threat in the passing game we saw last year. And when they want to go to the run game, the Rams go, we can run the ball on this team. We're going to run the ball on this team to win the game. Whereas they're not like, let's mix it up and let's kind of feel things out, see where our strengths are and where our weaknesses are. They go, oh, we can beat this team this way. They're going to beat them this way. They're well coached like that. One of the big losses I have them having is Vegas. So you touched on Vegas. I'm very high on Vegas this year. I do have them dropping the game to Vegas. I think that can be a very competitive game. And I think by that point, Vegas is going to know who they have as their starting quarterback. I think it's going to be Aiden O'Connell. I think it's going to be Aiden O'Connell.
Do you?
I really do. As time continues to progress, I really think it's Aiden O'Connell. I think being with the team already and
a huge plus.
Giving Devontae Adams a reason to play after what we've seen come out this year with him being like, dude, I'm going to die here with Jimmy Garoppolo. He goes out there and he like wants to play when Aiden O'Connell's out there. That means something.
Do you think like Aiden O'Connell was like that much of an improvement over Jimmy G?
I think he made decisions that made the rest of his team happier. I think that Jimmy G, I don't know what it was about Jimmy G that they hated so much, but like they fucking hated him over there.
Do you see Jimmy G getting like a mid-year contract if somebody's like banged up or like something like that? Like
both your quarterbacks are down. You're like, we need an emergency quarterback. Okay, here we go. It won't be Las Vegas though. I don't care who goes down. He won't go back to Las Vegas.
No, definitely not. Do you think that it can be like a Flacco type of impact? Or no?
I don't think he'll ball like Flacco.
That's crazy to say. No, he did. He did.
Great. I don't think he'll ball like a 40-year-old Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
so.
Wild.
That is crazy to say, but to that point, I have them going 6-3, winning that last game in Miami. But again, a couple of losses there, but not to the best of teams. Like I have them losing in that stretch to it's Arizona, it's Minnesota, it's Seattle, but they're winning all the other big games.
Yeah. So to pick that up, at Week 11, I have them getting a win versus the Patriots and continuing that. So a 3-game win streak versus the Eagles on Sunday Night Football and at the Saints. They're actually going to win every single primetime game that they're on, so that's how you know that this ain't going to go that way. But a loss versus the Bills, I honestly think the Bills are better than a lot of these NFC teams too, and I just think like when it comes down to the AFC, like you got to get over the hurdles of the Chiefs, you got to get over the hurdles of like the Ravens and stuff like that, and we'll see because the AFC just gets more deep and competitive. Win Thursday Night Football versus the 49ers, 2 losses in a row at the Jets versus the Cardinals, and a win Week 18 versus the Seahawks. That gets the Rams to 10-7 with a 2-4 division record. This is actually the best record coming out of the NFC West for me personally. But knowing what they're going into the season with, like these were made back in early June. Things are going to be different here.
Steve, I got them finishing 11-6, so 1 game more than you. Also the best in the division for me. Wow. I think that they are the most skilled and talented team when they're healthy. I think they have the kind of veteran presence at quarterback that teams are going to need to really get over that edge. And I think that they're not annoyed because they're not like San Fran, where San Fran is like, we're going to do it, we get kicked in the mouth. We're going to do it, we get kicked in the mouth. And they just can't seem to get over that. At some point, that becomes a detrimental piece to what's going on in your locker room, and I think we're going to see that this year with San Fran. So I got Los Angeles Rams finishing 11-6. Again, a couple of the key wins there. Philly, Buffalo, those are 2 really big wins. They get another win at home over Arizona at the end of the season, and they're in that 2 seed, 3 seed spot, probably 3 seed. I would think that we're going to look at a team like the Lions or the Packers, whichever one ends up winning the division will be above them. The next one will be the 5 seed. And then you're looking at a team like the Rams possibly at 2 or
Seahawks.
I don't think Seahawks will take the division.
No.
I think it'll be a Rams, or I don't think Philly's going to have the amount of wins to get there. What's the other division that I'm missing?
Dallas. South.
So who's South?
The Saints. The
Atlanta.
Falcons.
I think Atlanta's going to rack up a couple of those wins, and they might be able to sneak the 2 or the 3 seed. But I think the Rams are going to be very competitive. Yeah,
that confident.
Yeah, I think they're going to be good.
Wow. Okay. Why don't you take us through San Francisco 49ers?
Well, since we just talked about how they're not winning our divisions, let's get to it. Lost to the Jets week 1, Super Bowl hangover loss immediately. Getting right with a win over Minnesota, but losing a big upset game to Carolina.
Oh,
crazy
Carolina.
Upset.
Week 3?
Yeah, sorry. I can't spell. It says LAR. It says LAR. I read CAR. Losing to the Rams. I'm sorry, not Carolina, because that didn't feel right. That just didn't feel right to say.
Oh God.
So they go into the Rams Stadium. They lose at SoFi. But then they rack up 2 wins in a row against New England and Arizona, lose to Seattle, lose to KC, lose to Dallas. So tough start for the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay. Good recovery to him. We love that.
Bounce back. Rusty. A little rusty.
No, it's okay. I have 5-game win streak to start the year for San Francisco. Still not going to be a better record than what I gave the Rams. Versus the Jets Monday Night Football, it's going to be a tough game. I'm interested to see, what Saleh can put together, because I think the Jets' identity and strength should be their defense as long as he's the coach.
Yep.
That's my opinion. Rodgers should be able to make that offense run efficiently, effectively on his own. But continuing the streak, Vikings, Rams, Patriots, Cardinals, lost Thursday Night Football to the Seahawks, lost versus the Chiefs. They're not going to be able to overcome that. Win versus the Cowboys, Sunday Night Football, Week 8. You got the bye Week 9. 2 wins in a row in Weeks 10 and 11, Tampa and Seattle.
Same thing.
And you got the same thing?
Same thing.
All right, well, this is where things really hit the fan for you, too. I have them drop in every game from Week 12 to Week 17.
That's insane. So that's it.
But
I had
hold on.
them starting tough. I had them starting tough because I think the Aiyuk talks are super distracting. And I thought this, again, made these in June, right? So this has been floated around, and I thought this was going to play out a little bit differently. I didn't think that it was Aiyuk was going to be this kind of bitchy, it seems.
See, I was having this conversation in the office today. I don't think he's being bitchy at all. I think he's demanding a lot, but I think he's doing the right things and going about his business properly. No one's saying a shit about CD not being at camp. Ayuk's physically there. He's he's attending the meetings and all of that.
Yes.
I get the argument of,
Only
he should.
Pittsburgh?
No. Well, look, if the Patriots offered him money and money's what he's trying to prioritize, that's what he should have took. So now, this is going to start to affect him with his decision making and things like that. But look, last year he had a great year. He's probably not. It's going to be extremely difficult for him to reciprocate those numbers, 100%. Especially on San Fran. Yep. Realistically, San Francisco will pay Debo before they pay Aiyuk. I firmly believe that. And knowing that you drafted 2 rookie wide receivers to come into the room, look, the 49ers have all the leverage because they don't actually have to trade him. And just all the insiders, the analysts, and the experts are saying, it doesn't make any sense for the 49ers to move him for a future draft pick right now, knowing that they can still move him after this season for a future draft pick or let him go and get a compensatory pick back.
Do you think he'll play, though?
Not for 49ers. I don't think he would play for San Fran.
Do you think if he doesn't get dealt by the week 1, do you think he'll play?
No.
I don't think so either. And that's where it's I hate to go back to Le'Veon, but killed his career doing the thing.
Yeah.
But that's immediately what I think of. So
he ended up getting paid, though.
He did. He got paid, but then he
regretted the decision.
He ended up boxing like Frank Gore.
No.
That was what he ended up. I'm sitting there. I'm dude, I don't want that for Aiyuk. We're looking at a dude that can be an amazing talent. He's young in his career, and he can win a team playoff games.
Yeah, and I don't think that the Browns are going to move Amari Cooper to get Aiyuk. I don't, and pay him more. I don't.
Because they already have they have Judy there too. They have Elijah Moore there. They have the other pieces as well.
Yeah, I think Washington makes sense, but it's just Terry McLaurin's a really good wide receiver.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. You drafted Jahan Dotson too. So again, you can load that team up as much as you want, but
the Steelers
what if it doesn't work
sense?
Out for Jaden? Steelers makes a lot of sense for them.
And honestly, every team that's been every player or scenario that's been connected to the Steelers has actually happened this offseason. So that's something I do want to keep in mind. I just don't you're not going to be able to trade Brandon Aiyuk for like a second or third round pick and then pay him $35 million.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
So something needs to budge there. I think like within the next week and a half, there's going to be a resolution there. I really do.
Hope so. I hope, because he'll be ends up playing. And that's the thing with things. San Fran kind of put themselves in the right position, though, to draft like a Ricky Pearsall and say, all right, well, if you don't want to play, we're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
But we have another guy that we want to coach up because, again, they're loaded with talent everywhere. So, like, they don't have to have two goated receivers. They have the best running back in the league. They have a top 5 tight end in the league. They have another good receiver. And then you drafted a guy that's highly touted out of college.
With a top defense.
With a top defense. So it's interesting. You have them losing 12 through 17.
12 in a win week 18, which would get them to 9-8, 4-2 in the division.
So I got same record, 9-8. I don't have them going on that quite the stretch. I did have them starting slow and then picking up in the middle of the season, kind of falling off in the last 3 weeks. But I do have them winning that last game against Arizona, and they may get the 7 seed.
Yeah.
9-8 might get you the 7 seed, but it all depends how the West goes.
Yeah, this fall off is very Eagle-esque to last year. So it's not like it's impossible. And like you could, I'm not going to argue this because like I don't agree with it, but you can host the argument that like the Eagles, like roster wise and everything, are just as good, if not better, than the 49ers.
Yep.
And that might have been a more dramatic fall off. Was it Sirianni? Was it Hurts? We're hearing a little bit of like both of that right now. Was it outside factors? Were there internal factors that really catered to that? I just think it's really tough. And I actually heard somebody say today that like the 49ers Super Bowl window is probably closed after this year. Like Purdy's gonna have to be paid. That's going to change. He's going to make $40+ million.
McCaffrey will have one more year of tread on the tires. He's going to get to 28, 29, which, again, 28's a fine, but like...
He can't be 27 right now. He's got to be older than that.
Oh, no.
Next year, he might be turning 30. We might have to fact check.
28.
Yeah. So he'll be, going into next year, he'll probably be like close to that 29, 30. But that's the benchmark for like the running back position. He's not going to make $20 million after that.
Especially with the amount of usage that he gets, dude. Yeah. He's an active involvement in the pass game.
For sure.
It's interesting. But Steve, let's talk about Seattle.
Okay. Let's do it.
How do you got them going? Seahawks.
So through the first 5 games, I had them starting 2-3. So a little bit slow, but they get the first 2 wins in a row. Versus the Broncos, most important, I don't want to say most important game of the season, but it's important to win that game versus the Broncos just because of the way everything shook out and things like that. Win versus the Patriots week 2, that might be one of the easier 2-game stretches in the NFL for Seattle. Sorry to say that.
I know.
But dropping 3 straight after Dolphins, Lions, and the Giants. I actually think the Giants going to match up really well versus Seattle, but I think that's going to be a competitive game. Win Thursday Night Football versus the 49ers. Think it's going to be close. Think it'll be competitive. Division game. Shit happens. People are going to go into Thursday Night Football. Oh, let me start this week with a win on the betting standpoint, on the cards, on the pools, whatever this shit is. That's where Seattle comes up, gets a win. Loss versus the Falcons. So maybe speaking a little bit to your truth with Atlanta and where they'll be this season. I'm going to go right to the bye. So 2 more wins. Win versus the Bills. Big game. Win versus the Rams, week 9. Week 10 bye. So at this point in time, that has them 5-4 going into week 9. So pretty good spot to be to the first couple weeks. It's above 500. And then the back end of the schedule will get real interesting.
Steve, I got them 5-4 as well, right here with you now. Very, very simple. First 5 games exactly the same. I have them beating San Fran like you, but I actually have them beating Atlanta and Buffalo, and then losing to the Rams. So, again, just 2 games that we have different there, but I also have them 5-4 to start. And, again, Seattle is one of those sleeper teams where if it's not this year,
they're going to be a good team real soon.
They'll be a really good team real soon. They are going to be the team to beat real soon, I think. I would
like a top team in the NFC.
Yep. Like, new coach.
Yeah.
Once they get quarterback figured out, like they are there. They have a elite wide receiver room. We talked about wide receiver depth today.
Yes.
They got the best trio in the league, possibly, maybe rivaling with the Texans, but like that's it. You got DK, you got Lockett, you got JSN.
Is that the 1-2-3 still, or do you think JSN creeps up a little bit this year?
I think JSN will creep up a little bit, but I think there's always going to be a comfort level with Lockett in Seattle that is irrevocable.
Yeah.
So
I actually was thinking going into this year, maybe he's like a guy that could potentially get moved, but I'm just like, why?
He would be like, if you need to pay me a little bit less, we'll extend the contract. I'll take less per year, and I want to stay in Seattle. Like, that's just how he seems.
No, absolutely. But coming into the back end after the bye, 2 losses off the bye. So at 49ers, and a loss versus the Cardinals, really tough game. After that, though, 3 wins in a row. Jets, Cardinals, Packers, Sunday Night Football. Huge game. And look, we're talking week 15, so this is a great home game to have. Like, if this was in Green Bay, like, I know the weather conditions will probably be a little bit similar, but still, you don't want to go into Lambeau and play that game. But actually losing the last 3 games of the season after that, Vikings, Bears, Rams, getting the Seahawks to 8-9 with a 3-3 division record. Feel good about it. Built and established things through this season. Do I think that they could be better than 8-9? Absolutely. Do I think that they should be less than that? Absolutely not. Not a chance. This should be a minimum of an 8-9 football team.
Steve, I got the same record, 8-9. And again, anything less, I agree, would be disappointing. They have the roster. They have one of the best defenses in the league.
Okay.
I mean, with the pieces that you've drafted, with what you got last year's draft too, it's like, this is a very solid defensive unit with a really good secondary and now a good front.
And a defensive-minded head coach now.
It's going to be a very, very difficult team to move the ball downfield on. For me, the question is quarterback room. Can they figure out, maybe offensive line could use a little bit more help, but
they got some first-round picks on that line, too.
They got first-round picks on the line. They have a great running back duo in Charbonnet and Walker. Yeah. Again, we talked about the wide receivers.
Kenneth Walker is going to be a problem this year in fantasy
and his
football.
ADP is crazy low.
It is. I actually, we're going to talk about that on the next episode because we have some... For the next episode, we have Fantasy Beware or our Do Not Draft list, some guys that we're keeping off of our targets. And with that, I also included some guys that I would prefer over where their ranking is or what their ADP is and things like that to just kind of consider. But that'll also cater into, our breakout players and some sleepers and things like that as well. So we're real excited to get to the fantasy content and start bringing that to you guys. The way the division shook out for me was Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, Cardinals. I actually think that's not going to be remotely close to what the way the division shakes out once we get to Week 18.
I honestly think that's how... I don't know that the records are going to be exactly right, but I do think that the Rams are going to take this division. I do think San Fran's going to disappoint a lot of people this year. Again, disappoint the people that are expecting them to make Super Bowl. That's who it's going to do. They're going to be disappointed. It's not happening this year. Arizona's going to shock people. Seattle's, I think, is going to be right on par. 8-9, 9-8, maybe 10-7. I'm very excited for this NFC West. I have one question before we get to wrapping it up.
Please.
So in doing mock drafts, I'm seeing a lot of different stuff, and I don't know entirely how I feel about it.
I don't do mock drafts, by the way.
I know you don't. But
I don't think it helps me gauge where people are going because first round will come and somebody will select like George Kittle, and I'll be like, well, this is a waste of my fucking time.
I know.
Because I'm just like, I can't gauge anything on this. And then it's like the second round comes, and like if somebody has like a keeper or like whatever the case is, they're taking that guy in round 2 because that's where he's kept. And it's like, yo, this just doesn't help me. So I'd rather run some scenarios, have my guys. I like some guys that I feel like are ranked too low, too high. I look at ADP a lot, too.
Yep.
So,
and that's the thing. So when doing the Beware stuff, and I like to look at ADP, I enjoy doing the mock when I have 30 minutes being like, let me just see, and if I drafted this position, like roughly what kind of people am I getting in rounds 5 to 10? And like I like to kind of see how that plays out, where I should get quarterbacks, where I should get other skill positions. But when I'm looking, the number 1 projected tight end, Sam Laporta, rightfully so.
I hate it.
You think it's Kelsey?
No, I don't hate that he's ranked number 1. I hate where he's ranked overall.
Oh, yeah.
It's horrible.
I'm not big on drafting that tight end spot early, man.
Bro, him and Kelsey are ranked 36 and 37 in a 12-person league that's drafted in the 3rd round. I want nothing to do with that.
I won't do that. And you know how much I love my Lions and my Italian Laporta, my friggin' Pookie Bear. But so it's 1 Laporta, 2's Kelsey. The 3rd option is Trey McBride. So like the projected 3rd tight end. I think he's top 5. I really do. But do you think that he's better than a Kittle fantasy-wise? Do you think he's better than a...
I think this is a circumstantial conversation.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because I think if Aiyuk gets his way out of San Fran, I think Kittle's stock absolutely soars. But look, we saw Kittle thrived last year with 55 catches. Like, he still had, like, a very good season, didn't have as many touchdowns as we would like. But that's something that I'm monitoring as I'm inching closer towards like my fantasy drafts because that would change my tiering. I think I was really low on Trey McBride last year, and I told like multiple people that that's not a tight end that I would rely on going on to like the playoffs and the back end of the season. But the tight end position got really thin at a point last year. But a guy like McBride could give me a very similar feel or, scenario to Evan Ingram. Bunch of receptions, shit ton of receptions, like not even crazy on the odds because I think MHJ and, they were really high on Michael Wilson last year who, kind of balled out a little bit. I think all three of those guys are going to be fantasy relative. I think for the way the tight end position shakes out, that McBride could be a volume-heavy dude. Am I drafting him? Like, I'm still drafting a George Kittle above him.
You are.
I think it gets close, like, with the Andrews conversation, because, like, they run two tight end.
So that's the other thing is Andrews is like 4, and I'm like, dude, but again, like, yeah, you have the two tight ends, and now that we've seen there's chink in the armor with Mark Andrews, will he stay healthy? And all these things, those are the kinds of questions that are popping in my mind.
Yeah.
And you got Derrick Henry, so there's all the goal line catches for him. Like,
yeah, and I honestly think like Zay's gonna blow up this year. Like I really do. Like not like 1,400 yards because that offense would never demand that. It's a running offense. But what
1,200?
I think that would be peak, honestly. But I think if he like 11 to 12. With like touchdowns, like I think he's gonna break off like some big chunk plays, and I think that's a huge part of it. Breaking down the tight end position though, like it was real interesting. I got my rankings here, and I'm not gonna share too much, but I didn't like the positioning for Laporta, and I think a guy like Kincaid can be a lot higher on the list.
I agree. I think Kincaid can absolutely be higher on the list, dude. I think Pitts makes his comeback this year.
Do you? I don't.
Not top 4, not top 3 tight end, but I don't think you're going to see the crazy amount of dud weeks that you got from him.
Evan Ingram last year.
Yeah, I think you're going to be looking at something similar like that.
4 touchdowns, 700 yards, 70 receptions.
I think he's going to be more touchdown heavy than he will be yard heavy because I think he's
the running backs are going to get a lot of touchdowns there, dude.
But I also think the running backs are going to be very actively involved. I think Bijan specifically is going to get very actively involved in the passing game.
Okay, I think that we're going to see Drake London be a yard freak, but not be there with the touchdowns.
I agree. I think he's super talented, dude. I'm really high on Drake London. I think he's very, very talented. He's not a beware guy. Before we get into the beware episode, he's not a beware guy, but he's someone that's like,
you think
I go back and forth so much on him.
Yeah, you think Darnell Mooney can live up to 2, especially knowing that Rondale Moore got carted off today? They don't have
breaking news.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know?
I didn't even see that yet.
In an air cast, so like I think that's like a leg fracture.
That's tough. Then I mean he's gonna need to step up with a more significant role, but
like they should go after like an Aiyuk, dude.
They should have drafted, but again they ended up getting Penix.
Yeah.
Which
that's gonna help you this year.
I know that's the thing. They drafted Penix to prepare for the future, but like their time to win could have been now, which is crazy.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, I don't think Mooney's enough as a 2. Now, I don't think he's the 2 option on that offense. I think he's the 4 any way you cut it. I think you need another guy.
Yeah.
Especially with Rondale Moore going down, I think you need another guy, and it doesn't have to be somebody crazy.
For sure.
Like, it can be, again, I think Aiyuk is an awesome option, but I don't think it's realistic.
Type guy.
A Thielen-type guy, exactly. Someone that's going to get in there. He's had the experience, and he'll get you the catch when you need the catch. Not a Darnell Mooney where he's just going to blow by a guy downfield, and you're like, please catch it.
Not your number 1 either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. We love that. Since the Sandbox fans, we've wrapped up our schedule predictions. We delayed the process. We're sorry, but thank you for sticking along. Wrapped up the series. Now it's fantasy football time. The fun begins now. Join us for all the fun, August 17th for our 5-year event. New T-shirts. I know you like these dry fits. We got some other special stuff coming real soon. You can only get it there. You got to
show up to find out, though. That's
you can only get it there. So you're just going to show up and be surprised. But we're real excited. We've been doing a lot of prep work for that event. And we're excited for the start of the NFL season coming to us just weeks away. Let's go.
It's time, baby.
Let's go.
It's fantasy time, Steve. Close us out and let's get some fantasy stuff going, baby.
You guys know the deal. Peace, love, 5 stars, nothing less.